Children who are 3 years old. Children who are age 3 will be able to fully listen to stories being read to them efficiently. Children will be able to recognize books by the covers. Children will be pretending to read books on their own at this age. Children will be able to understand that books are read from the front to the back, just like the preschool age children. Children will be able to point out the objects in books and comment on characters of the stories. A 3-year-old child likes reading with an adult daily. Constant exposure with stories will grasp more of a attentive point and attentive level of mastery as long as they are reading daily. They also listen to stories from books and stories that you tell with full enjoyment. Recognize a book by its cover. Pretends to read books by themselves. Understands that books are handled in certain ways. Looks at pictures in a book and knows that they stand for real objects. And they will say the names of objects in books. As a book example, if you give a mouse a cookie, children will be able to point out the milk, point out the mouse, point out the cookie, point out the straw, and point out little objects within and on each page. Continuing with the 3 years old, they do, like I said, comment on characters in the stories. They will continuously ask adults to read to them or help them with writing. They may begin paying attention to print, such as letters in their names and names of characters in stories. They begin to tell the difference between drawing and writing, and also begin to scribble as a way of writing, making some forms that look like letters and resemble those letters efficiently. Jumping from 3 years old to 4 years old, children will understand that printed words, rather than just pictures, will tell the story. Children will be able to emphasize with story characters and empathize with them. Children will be able to scribble messages, which may resemble the letters without them even realizing it. Children will be able to identify 10 alphabet letters, especially those in their own name. Children are growing rapidly in their language use and in their knowledge of reading and writing. They are currently learning the meanings of many new words, and they are beginning to use words in more complicated sentences when they speak. Jumping through to age 5 to 6. 5 to 6 is a good year for students and children with the ability of their mastery levels. Children at 5 to 6 years old will be able to pretend to read books on their own, and also some children at this age will be able to read books on their own completely without pretending. Children will be able to easily recognize all of the upper and lowercase letters. Children will be able to retell, reenact, or dramatize parts of stories. Children will be able to predict the next parts of a rhyming sequence. Children will be able to pick out the beginning sounds of words, like D is for dog. Children can describe recent family photos and memories by this age. At this age, it is extremely important to encourage them to spell and write. By the end of kindergarten, a child will know the parts of a book and how books are held and read, identifying a book's title and understands what the authors and illustrators do, follows print from left to right and from top to bottom of a page when stories are read aloud, understands the relationship between print and pictures, understands that the message of most books is the print and not the pictures. Regarding the alphabet, they will be able to recognize the shapes and names of all of the letters in the alphabet, uppercase and lowercase, like I said. Writes many uppercase and lowercase letters on their own. Sounds in spoken languages. Understanding that spoken words are made up of separate sounds, recognizes and makes rhymes, identifies words that have the same beginning sounds, and putting together or blending spoken sounds into simple words. Their phonics and word recognition. By the end of kindergarten, children will know a number of letter-sound relationships, understanding that the order of the letters in a written word represents the orders of sounds in a spoken word. Recognizes some common words on sight, such as a, the, I, said, you, is, are, and me. Reading we went over. The spelling. By the end of kindergarten, a child uses phonemic awareness and letter knowledge to spell and write words, begins to spell some words correctly, writes their own first and last name and the first names of some friends, classmates, or family members, writes some letters and words as they are said to them as well. Vocabulary and knowledge of the world. By the end of kindergarten, a child plays with and is curious about words and language, uses new words in their own speech, knows and uses words that are important to schoolwork, such as the names for colors, shapes, and numbers, knows and uses words that are important to daily life, such as street names and addresses, and names for community workers. That is a big one. A lot of the school curriculums require the children to know their address and know their surrounding area as a grade on their report card, which I can see being very important so that they are aware of their surroundings. Continuing with 5 years old, children can understand and follow oral or spoken direction. Children can also use new words and longer sentences when they speak. Children can recognize the beginning sounds of words and sounds that rhyme. Children can listen carefully when books are read aloud to them. Children can show interest in books and reading and might acknowledge showing pride that I can read this book on my own. Children can recognize print on items around them, such as signs around the house, on bottles, the television, boxes, and various other household items. We will go ahead and jump to the 6-year-olds to 7. Children will be able to start or already knows how to sound out unknown words. Children will be able to write lists and cards. Children will be able to correct themselves when a misread word is read. Children will be able to describe in their own terms information that they have learned from a story. Children should be able to build listening and talking skills by having conversations with you. There should be a constant encouragement of spelling and writing words at this age. So by the end of first grade, a child knows the difference between letters and words, knows that there are spaces between words and print, knows that print represents spoken language and contains meaning, will be able to know some parts of print, such as beginnings and endings of sentences and where paragraphs begin and end, and the different punctuation marks that come along with that. Begin to understand why people read. By the end of first grade, children will be able to recognize and name all of the letters and not just the initial 10 that are in their name. By the end of first grade, they will be able to count the number of syllables in words. They will be able to put together and break apart the sounds of most one-syllable words. As for phonics and words recognition, by the end of first grade, children can show how spoken words are represented by written letters that are arranged in a specific order, can read one-syllable words using what he knows about phonics, uses phonic sounds to sound out words that they don't know, and can recognize some irregularly spelled words such as have, said, you, and are, and our. Reading we went over. By the end of first grade, regarding spelling and writing, uses invented or developmental spelling to try to spell words on their own, understands that there is a correct way to spell words using simple punctuation marks and capital letters, writing for different purposes, and writing things for others to read. As far as vocabulary, a couple of the most important things to read is understand that the language used in school is more formal than the language used at home with their friends and family. Talk about meaning of words and use new words when they speak and write. Beginning to recognize meaning of the same thing and opposite meanings, so synonyms and antonyms. And beginning to recognize that words play different roles in sentences. For example, some words, nouns, name things, and some words, verbs, show the action.